Next up is the formidable Dr. Agnes Kalibata, the CEO of Rockefeller's Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa. But for many years, Dr. Agnes served as Rwanda's Minister of Agriculture, where she delivered not just sustainable growth in farmers' income, but food security for her nation. An amazing few years doing that. At the same time, she had a close-up view of her country's response to genocide. And Dr. Agnes, you have so many insights to share with the rest of us. You're so welcome here on the stage. Dr. Agnes.
I'm really grateful to be here. So, I have a very, very humble beginning. Very humble beginning. I started off my life. I was born in a refugee camp. And you know what? I stayed in there for the next 35 years of my life. It was not an on and off, this kind of makeshift kind of camps, no? I lived in there for 35 years of my life. I actually don't feel bad about it. Don't feel sorry for me because I'm who I am, because I lived in a refugee camp. It taught me a few lessons in life. One of the lessons that defined my future was the fact that as I left primary school, and I started looking back at all the people I went to school with, I could not get more than 10 people off my, I could not get more than 10 people from the school, from the community I came from. And it was not just us refugees. By the way, that was in Uganda. It was also the Ugandan community that went to school with me. So deep in those villages, I could not find anybody I could say, yeah, we went to school together. Yeah, we played together. It was such a lonely journey. And I started asking myself, so what do you do? How do you make sure that the people you left behind you actually also do have a chance to a future? How do you start influencing life to ensure that the one you or several of you that made it out of that actually do help define what the future becomes for their children, so that their children don't have to be like have such a lonely life? So I really thought that that was going to be a very big part of defining me. I went on to university. I finished my university and everything. Uganda was a beautiful place to go to school. Let me tell you something. Some of these things we talk about in terms of, there's corruption here, there's corruption there. Sometimes it works. It works for societies. Because if someone is going to send for me a document to go to university, yeah, that type of corruption is not so bad. So I must confess, I went to university mostly because it was easy to move through that kind of system. So really, I was lucky that we were in a country that didn't discriminate us, that didn't care that we were refugees, that really, just allowed us to move on. So I went to university, in Makerere University. Then my real life challenge started when I went to Rwanda. After the genocide, I went to Rwanda, and I could not imagine that, one, there was such depth of poverty in any place in the world. Even as we grew up in Uganda, we were never that poor. I mean, I grew up as a child of a smallholder farmer because we were given land. UNHCR got for us land, we farmed and everything. I never imagined that there would be such level of poverty as I saw in Rwanda. So that was, for me, a defining moment. So I started asking myself, how do you live in a country like this? That was number one. Number two, I'm a scientist. I was working with communities. But in Rwanda, when I worked with the communities, I always looked at the pangas and spears and hoes they carried, and I felt like they were going to cut me. Because that's where Rwanda was coming from. It was coming from a genocide. So how do you conquer your fears of a genocide that is just at the back of like a year or so before? And how do you work in a community? I was in agriculture, in a community that is so entrenched in poverty. I made a decision. I was doing my master's in Makerere University. I made a decision that I was going to do a PhD. And why did I decide I was going to do a PhD for Rwanda? We had just come out of a war, lost a number of people, including my own family, brothers and everything. I said, you know what? What Rwanda will need from me as we go forward is going to need someone who can talk and negotiate and bargain and bring money to this country. We need to move our economy from the grass up. And if I get a PhD, if I understand how the world works, if I understand how the West works, maybe I can do something about this poverty. And my dad said, no, you should be getting married. I said, no. Wait a second. He said, you're getting too old. You have a master's. You have whatever. Why do you need another? I said, I'm going to go for the PhD. And I made a deal with God. I said, I'm going to go for the PhD. I don't need the PhD. Because I believe it is the right thing to do. I believe I need to network for my community. I believe I need to reach out there and see what is there. When I come back, I need to find my husband waiting for me. I'm serious. I said, God, I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to do this PhD for you. That's what I said. When I come back, make sure that a good man is waiting for me. So I said, okay. So I went. I had an offer from Rockefeller Foundation. I took it on. I ran. I did my PhD and learned a lot of things in the process and came back. I mean, actually, I got the money before I came back. So when I went to do my sandwich program, which is, I guess, what God must have advised, actually, there was a man waiting. So I was like, okay, so part of goal number one. The second request to God was that these skills I'm acquiring, like I told you I don't need, but you better put them to use. Better make me useful. So I completely believe that when you go out there with the conscience, with the determination, you know, the luck part that someone was talking about earlier actually does happen. If you work very hard, I'm not going to say that you get lucky, but you know, you influence what is happening around you. Working very hard, definitely nothing will beat that. Anyway, so all that happened, I came back. I was a scientist actually working for IIT. During that whole mix, I skipped that part. I was working for IIT, and I got a postdoc before I left. But when I came back, and in my mind, I still remember the poverty in Rwanda, and I got an opportunity to go to Rwanda. Someone told me, there's this project that is closing, $150 million is closing on the first 2 million because they have no capacity to use the money. I was like, would you give me the job? I forgot I was trying to be a scientist. Would you give me the job? The next day I was in Rwanda working. I was lucky that Rwanda needed that badly. So the next day I was in Rwanda working, and I never looked back. I never looked back on the fact that I felt it was my job to do something about the situation in Rwanda, to do something about the depth of poverty in Rwanda. I was very lucky. I had great leadership in Rwanda. Our President Kagame, I mean, if one day, Jacqueline, you need an inspirational, a person who actually believes what all of us are trying to do here, what you're trying to do here, invite him to talk to these fellows. Because this is someone who doesn't believe in doing the easy. This is someone who doesn't believe in, you know, who believes we must get to where everybody else is in the world. And he will do anything. He sleeps 2 hours a day to make sure that he changes. You know, he redefines history for a country that was supposed to be a failed state. In 20 years, is one of the most, you know, prosperous nations on the continent. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of hard work. So I decided that I was going to be part of that. I worked very hard, day and night. And I used 2 things. Conscious. If you want to betray anything in life, do not betray your conscience. Every time, do the right thing, because there's nothing better in the world than doing the right thing. So what I did was always to look at every situation and say, what is my conscience telling me here? Because again, remember, I was returning in a situation where you just had a genocide. You have all these people, and sometimes you're trying not to judge. But at the end of the day, you ask yourself, I was given this skill so that I can use it for the benefit of these people. I was given this skill, not because I was the most whatever, but privileged in society, but because there must be a purpose I can help, that I can actually put this that God has given me to use and be able to benefit other people. And we worked very hard. We found very hard-working teams, and we actually did make a difference in a short period of time. I can say that in the 9 years I was in Rwanda, working under President Kagame, I can say that the agriculture sector moved significantly, and we reduced poverty by 20%, right? The country is growing. I was telling someone the other day that in Rwanda, you can almost feel the vibration, the energy of what is happening in that country. Rwanda is built on conscience. Rwanda is built on not doing the easy thing. It is built on hard work. It is built on everybody making a decision that I'm going to leave this one behind. The other part I learned in Rwanda is that you never ever try to invoke our basic human instincts as human beings, because we are, the difference between us, I think, the difference between us and the other beings out there is that God gave us a conscience. If you believe in God, we have a conscience. But otherwise, we have a DNA that actually has basic instincts like other animals. You never, ever go there, invoke those basic instincts. I was telling my team in Agra now, where I am at Agra, I said, there must be a reason that I'm working in Kenya today. Because one thing I can't stand in my life is something called tribalism. I cannot not stand that. I learned the hard way. When I came to Rwanda, the first thing I asked myself was, how do I work with him? How do I look him in the face? Where was he then? It was easy for me to ask those questions until I realized that I was going to paralyze myself and not be able to do anything. When we start as a society, as a community, we made a decision to go above that. We made a decision that we were going to be Rwandans and not Hutu, be defined by Hutu or Tutsi. And we are building a country that is Rwandan. It's not easy, but a few individuals, just like you're here, are struggling with making sure that that becomes the future of our country. Because the future is what matters. It is not you and me. We are trying now to work for the future. This is a country that is purely built on consciousness, purely built on what people can do differently. And I hope that if there's anything that you as Acumen Fellows are trying to learn, is that what you're trying to do as individuals can make a difference. Because someone had to make that decision, right? Someone had to make that decision that we are going to go beyond what happened here. We are going to go beyond the face, you were here, you were there, what did you do then? We are going to go beyond that and build a country. So please, I just want you to understand and to know that you can make a difference as individuals. In Agra, I've chosen the difficult part. We were working on technologies in Agra, and I still believe we will be working on technologies. We're doing a very good job. But after I was the Minister of Agriculture, I learned that Africa is not short of technologies. Africa is short of ministers that are committed to doing the right thing. Africa is short of capacities and political governance and political goodwill to do the right thing, and that's what I'm going to go after. Every minister I talk to, I tell them Agra is supposed to be, does have a few grants here and there. I'm not talking about grants here. I'm talking about what are you missing to be able to do your job. That's what I take to them, because that's what I have learned. These ministers have access to more money than I can ever have in Agra. So I want to conclude on this. You can make a difference, but you have to work hard. Sometimes you wake up asking yourself whether you're on the right path. But if you work hard enough, that path gets clearer and clearer. Like we're being showed, sometimes it's broken down, but the next day, it's built again for you to move on. So please, you can make a difference as individuals. And please, we are born equal. We only get exposed to different things. We have a responsibility to keep ensuring that every human being has the right to a proper life while they are living with us. So if we can help do that for the rest of the world, please, let's do that. And if I can help deliver that message. And I know we are going in elections in Kenya. If you're a Kenyan and you're with me, let's fight that basic human instinct. Let's not allow anything to interfere in our human being, in our consciousness, in the great thing that God gave us, the ability to be one and to love each other, because we can do that. We can go through the most difficult things in life without destroying each other. And I'll be here. Keep telling my teams, please stay out of this, but also be the influence the world wants to see. So that's my last message to you. Be the influence the world wants to see, because actually the world is ready for that. We just don't do enough of it. Thank you.